so glad to have you all here. I'm Ann with Andell Homestead.
Hey y'all, it is Casey on location from Ormsby Farm and on the struggle bus.
And I'm
Yeah.
Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and that's okay, Casey. Well, we kind of set up at the last minute who was going to do what. So poor Casey was stuck doing it second. So hey, you know what? It's okay. We have a special guest today because on Monday's podcast episode, we were joined by our beautiful friend and former co-host, Alicia from Country Mama Musings. And there she is. All bundled up and warm.
I'm coming to you live from my craft room, which is very, very chilly here this morning in Iowa. So I am bundled up and ready to roll.
There you go. Okay, so if you get a chance and you see we're actually live on all 4 platforms. Well, I don't know if we're live on Alicia's right now. So we're live on 3 of the platforms.
We didn't round the HayBale.
And round the HayBale. So we are live on 4 platforms. So make sure that if you are in one of our lives, in our YouTube live, make sure you jump over to Round the HayBale. And I'm going to make sure that I put that link in everybody's chats here in a second too. If actually beautiful Jesse over there didn't already do it, he's amazing. And Ginger. So I am going to thanks, Jesse. I'm going to throw it up to Miss Ann real quick, and then we're going to start the show. So, Miss Ann, would you say hi to everybody? Because I just love hearing you say hello.
I would.
Yeah, I need to start back at the beginning.
Yeah, there you
go. Absolutely. Okay, I've got you. Jesse from Lazy Days Ahead with Jesse and Lisa. Hey, my buddy, my pal. I'm so glad that you're here. And then let's see, Jesse is just chatting away and dropping links, and that's wonderful. Cousin Kayla Duckett from Sneed's Farmhouse. Thank you, Kayla, for being here, precious.
Hey,
and then we have Jaden. Jaden is in the house. Good morning, Jaden, or afternoon now for me. Rebecca. Touch my yarn, you sweet thing. We've got some hats around our area that you have made today. Gear grinding. We
call them gear. We just call them gear.
Grinding 19. Oh, good morning. And Virginia Alexander, you cutie patootie. Thank you for being in here. Virginia is something else, and we're crazy about her. Evie. Good morning from Florida. I hope you made out okay in the storm, honey. Mm-hmm. And Karma, Lewis Acre Farm. I do. And we're so glad you're here. So I think that's most everyone that I see.
Yeah, I was able to put up some of them.
Yeah. Today, we have an opportunity to be able to discuss our pantry prepping. Mm-hmm. The person that we have here with us is one of the biggest experts I've ever known to have her pantry prepped, and that's Alicia from Country Musing Mama. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm something
Country Mama Musing. I always screw up everybody's name. I'm so sorry.
You can call me anything you want. Just don't call me late for supper.
There you go.
Even if you do, I'll just be able to pull something out of the pantry and whip it up in a jiff.
That's right. Now, Alicia, just curious, there was something that stuck in my mind from before when we had the pleasure of having you on our podcast and lives on a regular basis for years. But how many jars of peanut butter did you have in your pantry?
Oh, Lord. So I must have had 50 or 60 jars of peanut butter. And when I was done, forgive me, guys, I swallowed a frog earlier. He's hanging out with me. You can hear him. My husband would say, we don't need that many jars of peanut butter. And whenever they would go on sale, I would grab, something that I shared in our podcast is what I would do during my usual shopping trips is if I found something that was on sale for 99 cents, I would buy $10 worth of something. So when those little jars of peanut butter go on sale, and I'm not a brand snob, protein that'll save your life. I don't care what brand it is, even if it's the store brand. So I would buy 10 jars of peanut butter if I could. And my husband said one day, he says, Mama, you don't need that much peanut butter. And I said, you and I don't. But if we hit on hard times and our farm is, Grand Central here, if there's an issue and the whole family will merge here with us, we've got grandbabies we need to worry about. And those grandbabies need that peanut butter because those grandbabies, they might turn their nose up at the can of Vienna sausage that grandma gives
That's
us.
right.
They'll always eat a peanut butter, even if it's just peanut butter off of a spoon out of my picnic basket.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Keep that.
And it's a good bartering tool as well, you know?
Sure.
You have a
Sure.
neighbor that might have a dozen eggs and you've got a jar of peanut butter. And so
That's
you can
it.
trade for that.
That's
That would be
it.
wonderful. And so,
So
Casey, you shared with us,
Mhm.
you shared with us that you learned something special from Miss Alicia as well. You learned some meals in a,
Meals in a jar. Let me tell you, it's one of my addictions now, and I blame it all on Alicia, because it is the most convenient thing to have, to be able to dump those jars. Same thing with boiling water. Get it back up to a boil, and you have soup, or you have a rice mixture, or there's just so many different options to do the meals in a jar. And you don't even have to do them in a jar. You can do them in Mylar bags and have them prepped. And Alicia also got me into the mindset of writing the directions on the top of the jar or on the bag. Because if I get sick, maybe my mom or brother Chris or sis Tara don't know how to do it, but most of them can read directions properly.
yeah.
So they're able to whip up that chili or whip up that pasta or whatever it is. So, yeah, my addiction is meals in a jar and vacuum sealing. And we're trying to rub off to Miss Ann now. We're trying to peer pressure Miss Ann into doing
I
that.
do. I need it more. Now I do have some canned meals already done, soups and things like that, but not like you, Alicia. Can you share with us a few of the things that you have your meals ready to go?
one of my favorite things is some grown-up macaroni and cheese. And the reason I call it the grown-up macaroni and cheese is it has some different herbs in there, like some thyme and things like that. And so when you mix it all up, it's just thick and warm and yummy. And what I really love about the macaroni and cheese one is, traditionally, for those of us who make macaroni and cheese as young moms, you cook the macaroni, you drain the macaroni, you add the other stuff, you mix it up. It's okay. Never do I ever buy generic that, but I make my own and it's so much better. And what I love about it is I pour the entire contents of my jar, all my dry ingredients, including the butter and the milk and the cheese. I just pour it in the pan, add my water, and as it's boiling and cooking, it's cooking the macaroni and it's
Oh,
thickening up that sauce. And I don't have to do all those extra steps. And
Right.
it is so delicious. But I'm having what I'm making for dinner tonight is I did several jars of cheeseburger soup. So
yum.
that one has been a real good one. We recently had family come visit, and I did one of my meals in a jar that was beef stew. And they said they've never had beef stew like that. They couldn't believe it was all dehydrated and freeze dried ingredients. They couldn't believe it. So I
Okay.
just love those.
So beef stew was dehydrated. How was the dehydrated beef? I mean, be honest now.
Well, in full transparency, because I am a vegetarian, the beef
Oh,
that I have is texturized vegetable protein,
oh, gotcha,
but
gotcha, gotcha.
but nobody knew.
Okay.
Now, I have some diehard beef eating friends and family, and there was a time when my daughter-in-law was in the hospital, and my son, Mom, can you make that one thing that you make that meal in a jar? And it has the fakey meat in it. He doesn't even pick up on it. He doesn't care. But it was fine. It was
Okay.
fine. The ground beef, I had ground beef and chicken little nuggets, chicken little tidbits and beef tidbits, and I
You
used
know,
all that.
Alicia, I have to tell you, I took Alicia's advice and got the fakey ground beef to have, and I served it to the meat snobs, the bland children, and they picked up on it right away.
Oh boy.
Okay, but did they die? Did they turn their nose up at it or did they eat it?
Well, my children are polite in
I
the
had
presence of
ground beef
other
too up
people.
there.
They're polite in the presence of other people. They're not so polite to me all the time. However, I guess it's understandable. But no, they were like, "Oh, this is yum, yay!"
Oh,
And then they were like, "Mom, there's something wrong with this meat." I'm like, fake, not real. Mr. Casey's playing tricks on you guys. He's like, surprise, nice to meet you for the very first time.
Here's some fake meat.
Yeah.
Oh my
We went
gracious.
back there again this year and they were like, Mom, is he going to feed us? I'm like, don't worry. He's not going to feed you. It's fine. He's going to give us some real bread, some homemade bread. It's going to be good.
No, I had real meat this time.
Oh gosh. Gear Grinding says they want a cricket burger.
It is not crickets.
Oh.
It's made from vegetables.
Okay, but I mean, there is probably some sort of cricket burger out there. I don't know.
Oh, sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
Okay.
So, pick on the
Did you see
vegetarian.
that-
I'm
Did you
used
see
to
that
it.
one post, Miss Ann? The one comment from Karma at Lewis Acre Farm. I thought it was really awesome, and it was in your page, YouTube. She said, "Meals in a jar might be a great idea for my autistic husband and autistic adult son."
absolutely.
And I feel like this is such a great way for us as moms, as parents, as just leaders of a group of people to offer something that's a little bit easier. You know, I don't really do meals in a jar yet as much. I've seen it done. My co-hosts have done it. And I'm kind of like, I just don't, my like brain power would be to get all the things together. And then I'd be so afraid of not using everything up in the open containers. Like once I crack open a number 10 can of like, whatever it is, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to use it right now. So
Oh.
that would be, I have to like plan for a day where I will literally make a bunch of meals in a jar. So that's in my mind that I want to do one day and actually plan for it. But that's how my brain works. But I think about that with our kids or like if our husbands, if we're going away somewhere, because when I went out of town over the summer, I'm gonna be real honest. Eric, he doesn't have autism. He doesn't have anything that's going on where, you know, maybe he needs a little extra help, but that man needed a little extra help. He went to like
Yeah.
restaurants every single day that I was gone. I was like,
Uh-oh.
could you not make food? I have food in there for you. I should have made meals in a jar and left it on the counter.
Yes.
So I feel like it doesn't matter if your husband or your son or your wife or anybody is autistic or anything. I think it's just going to be one of those things that if they're not used to making meals for themselves on a regular basis,
Right.
it's going to help
Right.
them out.
And
Right.
it's
You
so
know-
convenient. It is convenient. I mean, that's
It is.
it's the dump and go.
And when
It
you're by
is.
yourself, you don't always want to make food a big meal. So it's really nice if you are by yourself or if it's just, you know, one or two of you, that's definitely a lot different. When it's me by myself or me with like two kids, I'm not making a big old meal. I'm eating leftovers or we are going to go order pizza or something. Exactly. See, you're stuck on cooking the same 3 meals. And that
You know-
happens to every one of us.
As far as opening the number 10 cans, I mean, you open it, you make some stuff, then you can take those ingredients, put them in a mason jar and vacuum seal them. Then they're just fine. And, you know, you can take them for camping. You can use them when you're in a pinch. And it really is nice to just be able, like Casey says, dump and go. And if you're thinking about doing this for friends or a neighbor, you know what makes a really great Christmas gift is putting some of these meals in a jar together. Get a 5-gallon bucket, put some meals in there with some picnic supplies. So for instance, if you put something in there for mac and cheese or something, if they have a power grid that goes down, they can cook up on their little camp stove or something, the macaroni and cheese without having to drain out the water. They can serve it in those little bowls. So just put those meals in there, put them in there with some bottles of water. So they have water in case they don't have clean water to work with. And one of those little jar openers so you can break that seal on that mason jar. And you give that as your kids or to your kids as a Christmas gift. Here you go. They may think you're the weirdest person in the world, but when they need it, they're going to be thankful that they have it.
Yeah.
I love that idea. And the fact that you put the instructions on the top of the jar rather than on a tag that could potentially be lost. That's
Right.
amazing to me.
And all I do is use a Sharpie. You just write on the top. And it doesn't have to be really detailed. It's like add 2 cups H2O oil eat. I mean, it's so simple.
I think
Right.
that's what we saw when we were recording our podcast yesterday. We were talking about some holiday ideas. Stay tuned for
Right.
that. And Casey pulled out one of his jars that I think he probably had done in the past with you or just on his own where he did like meals in a jar. And that's such a great holiday gift. You have a great point for that. I mean, we talked about it yesterday when we were recording. So stay tuned for those episodes for sure because they're going to be good.
Well,
but
let me
yes.
tell you one thing that I love about the freeze dried stuff is I get the milk powder, and a lot of people, you know, think milk powder and they're like, "Ooh, gross," from my childhood. But the Nido milk powder that I use, I can turn it into. I think I've counted 9 things that I've turned it into. I've turned it into cheese. I've turned it into just regular whole milk, chocolate milk, hot cocoa. What else have I done with it? Oh, I made heavy cream for the first time because I made shelf-stable eggnog coming out. I think the videos comes out today, so y'all go over to my channel to check it out. But it's so convenient to have, and as Alicia said, you pop open that number 10 can. What I do right away, because the 25-year shelf life is if it's unopened, okay? So your number 10 can has to be unopened. But once you open it, vacuum seal it in jars, you got another 10-year shelf life right there.
Right.
And you portion it out. You got 2 cups in a pint jar, 1 cup in a half pint jelly jar. So, you know, for recipes, it's milk powder is my must have. And again, I blame Alicia.
And I want to assure everybody, all of us, I would imagine, and even those in the chat, have childhood nightmares. We're triggered by powdered milk. Milk powder is not powdered milk. It is processed differently. It doesn't have that strange taste.
Really?
And yeah, it's different. There's a difference between milk powder and powdered milk.
Okay.
So I get, just like Casey, I get the Nido, Nido. It's in the cultural food section at your store, and you can get it in big cans, and it's delicious. I use it all the time. But I did want to say self-promotion. It's selfless here. If you guys are going to be putting your meals in a jar together, I did make a little book. It's available on Amazon. And it's blank, where it's got a little mason jar, and you can write down all of your ingredients and your directions. And that way, if you find meals in a jar that you really like, you can write everything down. You could put that as a gift as well, and put that with a couple of your recipes. And it's really helpful, because if you get into the meal in a jar kind of sense, you start getting overwhelmed with recipes, and you find some that you really like, and you find some that's like, no, I could pass on that. The ones you really like, you can write down and have them. And I think that's a neat little thing too. But it really is a neat way to do things, and it's handy.
What was I'm sorry. And Christy Betts wants to know, what was the name of the better tasting milk? And also, in your explanation, if you would please explain what a number 10 can is. I don't own one.
Sure. So the milk that Casey and I use for our meals in a jar recipes is called Nido, Nido.
It is if you scan the QR code, go to the Amazon storefront, you can find it there. It's in our Amazon storefront. So Christy, you can head over there, but it's Nido. It's a Mexican, I don't want to say Mexican, more Hispanic.
It's in the Hispanic food section. And you know, that's a thing too. When people, just so you guys know, when we went through those times where things were flying off the shelves, and you can get that as well from Augustin Farms. That's a good one too.
This is your number 10.
That is a number 10 can. It's the big can.
Okay.
And what's really nice is after you empty it out, save the lid, you could use it for all kinds of things.
So wait, this is instant dry. Is it instant non-fat dry milk? Is this going to be the gross stuff?
It shouldn't be. I think Casey's used that one, and it's good.
This is what you use, right? Before Casey?
Yeah, it's freeze dried. That's all it is just
okay. So this is going to be a better tasting milk.
That will be a better tasting one. Yeah.
And
I have cracked one of these open. I might have a couple more of these stored away, because whenever they're on sale, I buy them just in case, because it's one of those things that if I need it for an animal, well, I usually buy the full fat, but if I need it for an animal, I also have full fat milk as well. But this right here, if you crack it open, you can put it into a mason jar and vacuum seal it. Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I have used it before, but I cracked it open, but I used all of it in different recipes. Like I had used it in things because I didn't want it to go bad before I didn't want it to dry up and clump. So
and
I put
it won't. It usually is about, I've noticed, 2 years. Once you open it, if you keep it in the number 10 can, you got about 2 years out of it.
It won't clump up or be thick. Oh, okay.
All right. Well,
I keep
the
oxygen absorbers in it, but
okay. And also, if you know anything about Miss Ann and Pyro Granny, these number 10 cans you can use to make your own like fire thing, right?
Yes, you can. You certainly can.
Like your stove.
Yes. You absolutely can. Is the whole thing metal, or is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
like they have, like, it has the plastic top, but If you look,
Yeah.
the whole thing is metal all the way around.
Oh, absolutely. Those are wonderful
Yeah,
fires.
never throw them away. Never, ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah,
throw
we
them away.
actually have used a couple of them in the past. I've opened, and we just use them as feed scoops for our feed for our animals because you can have them outside. We just use them for feed scoops, or
So do I. It's okay. I'm with you.
we collect eggs in them or something. I mean, like they stay
Right.
out there. They stay outside.
Yep. And you can use those types of cans for all
Okay.
sorts of stoves and
Okay.
things. I mean,
Mhm.
it's amazing to be able to use those cans to make some fire starters. So there's more than one way of using your pantry preps, right? Christy says, I sometimes go without refrigeration off grid, and I don't really drink milk, but need it for cooking sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's a really good idea.
The milk powder is a great thing to have in your pantry for times like that. But also, when I say I go on those little shopping sprees and find something to spend $10 on, I always like to stay up on keeping evaporated milk in my pantry because I can use that in recipes all day long. And
Right.
you can get good deals on them sometimes. And again, when things get tough and the store shelves start getting lean, it's one of the first places I'll go. Go get your evaporated milk. Find those things that most people aren't thinking of
Mhm.
and get that in your shopping cart. I don't go crazy and take it all, but I make sure I got what I need for my family.
I
That's
have
so
to
cool.
say that because you mentioned that, I know we have a vegetarian on the panel today, but I saw the funniest GIF this morning that was talking about prepping, and it had a picture of all the shelves being empty except the vegetarian section.
Yes.
And it said, even in a hurricane issue, nobody wants to eat that food. But I thought it was funny. I thought we'd just
If you
mention
survive
it.
it,
I
you just
actually
survive.
experienced that. My son went up to our Walmart about 40 miles away when everything went crazy a few years ago, and he was on a live video with us FaceTiming. Everything was wiped clean. I said, son, go to get mama something. I need you to go to the vegetarian section. He says, Mom, there's nothing here. Just go. He goes to the vegetarian section in the produce department. I said, get me some of those hot dogs. Get me some of that vegetarian chorizo. And he just loaded up on stuff and brought it home. Nobody else was buying it. And
Okay, there you go.
you may say you can taste the difference in the other meats, and I will give you that, but not the soy riso. The chorizo that's vegetarian is very, very good.
Well, let me ask you this. Oh, I'm sorry, Monica.
I really quick wanted to add just before you go, Miss Ann. If you do look at the Nido, make sure you're looking at what's in it. So just for reference, my Augustin Farms, the ingredients are simply non-fat milk, vitamin A, vitamin D. In the Nido online on Amazon, I just clicked the link that Jesse sent. It's got milk and soy lectin in it. So it does contain soy. So be mindful of those things if you have allergies to other things besides milk. If you don't want to give your kids soy, just be mindful of that in case that's a thing for you. So make sure you're still looking at ingredients, no matter whether it's dry non-fat milk or whole milk or whatever too. So
And with soy, you do have, I mean, if you have some thyroid issues, soy is an issue.
yeah.
And Christy says that evaporated milk won't stay good as long as other canned goods. So you got to be careful not to
Good to
stock
know.
up more than you
Rotate
can use.
first in, first out.
Yep.
There you go. Now, I have a question for you, Alicia, because you're our queen of meals in a jar and having your pantry all ready. What brought you to it to not invent, but to begin to make your meals in a jar? Because that is a novel idea.
Well, I mean, I would love to take full credit for it, but I can't. There are plenty of other people out there on different social formats that do this.
Mhm.
And I did start learning from them. So I can't take credit for it. It's just one of the ones that I really started implementing and sharing with my friends. And I really embraced it and went forward with it. And one thing that started this for me is because since we've moved here on the farm, and like everybody who's watching can see, I'm bundled up because it's cold in Iowa. We're starting our winter. There's been times we've been stuck in a blizzard here. We cannot get off the farm, and if we lose
Right.
power, we're stuck. And I have to have something. This is what started me getting my pantry together, because I had to have something that would be a quick grab, easy, that we could put our headlamps on and get the little camp stove out and cook up something quick and easy that's hot and comforting.
There
And
you
we're not
go.
just eating crackers and, messing around for 8 days trying to
Right.
figure out how we're going to dig ourselves out.
Yeah.
It's good. It's hearty. And when you freeze dry the food, you don't lose the nutrients. There's so many benefits to it. And like I said, you can grab and go. And I know if I'm not feeling well, any member of my family can grab what they need. The instructions are there. You dump it in the pot, add your boiling water, and off you go. And I know
Now-
Casey loves the funeral potatoes that he and I did one time. Those are delicious.
Yes, they are so good.
And how do you store these jars? When I'm home canning all my tomatoes and green beans and so forth, it's in a single layer so that you make sure that you're not getting a false seal and things like that. But that wouldn't matter on vacuum sealed jars,
No,
right?
it doesn't really matter. I've got them stacked 3, 4, 5 high in boxes. And I keep the rings on them.
Okay. I think that's a great idea.
Sometimes you'll have a fail, especially if you have a lot of powdery things. So like the macaroni and cheese, when you vacuum seal it, it might suck the powder up. And as it's sealing, that powder might end up on the rim and it might affect yourself. But you know what? I haven't had anything yet that's spoiled. Yeah, it might get, oh gosh, my cheese powder is a little hard. Who cares?
Right.
You throw it in there, you mix it up, you smush the little chunks with your spoon, you still eat it. And I love to use the Mac Daddy stuff in there, and it clumps anyway. So it's good stuff. Who would deny having a little extra clump of cheese powder in a bite of macaroni and cheese? It's like you win the prize.
Yeah,
My son, we have that Mac Daddy or with the Daddy Mac, whatever. It's like a cheese powder mix, but it's specifically made to like make your own mac and cheese from one of these freeze dry places. And I'm going to tell you what.
Hoosier Hill.
Hoosier Hill. There you go. My son, my 10-year-old, he's like addicted to it. Like it's got to be something in there because he'll make his own like, store-bought box mac and cheese. And he's like,
heaven is what's in there. It's heaven.
Yeah, it is heaven in a jar, like freeze-dried cheese jar. Because this dude will go and he'll be like, Mom, can I add some more cheese to it? I'm like, you go. He takes the thing and he's like scooping it out and like dipping it in and mixing it all in. Yeah, he loves his extra cheese powder in his mac. And he makes it himself, like on the stove, like with his milk, and he's loving it. So yeah.
Well, imagine how much easier it would be for him if you had it already in a jar.
Yeah.
And he just dumps the jar and adds a jar of water, and then it all cooks at the same time. And he's not handling dumping out boiling water with the hot macaroni.
That's true.
It's a safety element as well as being convenient.
That's true.
I love that I don't have to dump my macaroni into a strainer anymore. I mean, who likes to do that? Not me.
I did put up your cheeseburger soup and a meal in a jar recipe so that if people want to start out with something, it's soup season, I feel like. So people are looking for new soup recipes. So if you click on, there you go, Big Daddy Mac Mix. It's so good.
Good stuff.
It is so good.
And so
keep in mind, if you're going to make the hamburger meal in a jar, you can put all of your ingredients in there. And then if you want to use real true hamburger, you could cook it up and add it to it, or you can get freeze dried real ground beef from the stores online. You don't have to get texturized vegetable protein. That's just my personal choice.
there we go.
But you can get freeze dried real meat. So, and I'll tell you, my family made fun of me when I first started having these boxes of 30 pounds of TVP ground beef showing up. But I still have 2 huge bins of all kinds of freeze-dried meats available to me. And everybody else is complaining that hamburgers now $6 a pound.
Right.
And nobody's laughing at Mom anymore because I have everything in my pantry put together. And, maybe it takes a little getting used to, but nobody complains now that, oh, Mom's using fakey meat, but I like her sloppy joes.
That's awesome. So, Casey, we appreciate you bringing all of us up and gathering us around for a Hey Y'all Hey. If you want to close us out a little bit, I am curious to know how you did when you didn't have current. Did you use any of your meals in a jar or your preparations?
I did.
And then maybe close us out. You did.
I did. And I want to first thank Alicia for coming back on the podcast with us. We had a lot of fun shooting that episode with her. And again, she is such a queen of the pantry. And if y'all haven't heard that episode, make sure to scan this QR code that is to our left. and to listen to all of our old episodes.
That's right.
Be sure to subscribe because at 500 subscribers, we are doing a giveaway. And in a couple weeks, I think it's 1 or 2 weeks, our episodes you're going to be able to see our face now on the podcast. We're coming back to the face.
Woohoo!
So be sure to come out and check that. Scan the QR code if you want to get any Augustin Farms stuff. We've talked about that freeze-dried stuff today. Around the HayBale, we are affiliates with Augustin Farms, and it's no extra charge to you. It just shows them that you came from us, and it gives us a little bit of ching-ching in our pockets, and we appreciate that. But everyone, thanks for coming in. We appreciate y'all taking, the 30 minutes of your time out to come and hey y'all hey with us.
Yeah.
And we will see y'all next Friday. So until then, bye y'all, bye.
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 Hey Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the HayBale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the HayBale podcast.
Playing Round the HayBale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the HayBale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.